Hi, I'm Tony Houston, the local history librarian here at Blodgett Library. Welcome to another episode of Your Story is Fishkill's Story. Today I'm interviewing Tracy Dunstan, the interim director at Nyack Library and the author of Fishkill Revisited, the second volume of pictures and stories about Fishkill. Tracy, when did your interest in local history begin?
I would say probably from Fishkill Elementary. It was a very history-based school, and in fifth grade we did a whole, or I think it was fourth grade actually, a whole unit on local history, and we went to the Van Wyck Homestead and Madam Brett and all that, and I just started to really get interested in learning about the area of Fishkill, and also in fifth grade we went to DC, and also after that from that point on I was very into history and local history and whatnot.
They used to teach local history in 4th and 7th grade, and the kids would come in and do research projects, and they don't emphasize local history like they used to. And I think that's too bad because it's important.
Agreed. Yeah.
So how did you come to know Fishkill, New York?
My mother came. My parents are both born in Jamaica, but my mom came up here for college, and her mother got a house in Round Hill, and when she graduated college, they both moved in together in Round Hill, and then my dad and my mom met in the Bronx at one of the hospitals there, and and my mom talked them into moving up here, and then they came up here, and then we were here ever since. They moved to the development that's across the street, and yeah, we've been there the whole time.
So what was it like growing up in Fishkill? Is it different than it is now?
A little bit. I would say, like you said, I think it was more local history based. I guess in elementary school, a lot of my really good friends, I still like my best friend. I met her in kindergarten, and we're still best friends. And her family still lives in Fishkill. I think her father's like on the board or something. I feel like people stayed here because when I was growing up, a lot of my friends, like not a lot of people came in and out. It was like kindergarten, and we all grew up together. So it was nice having people who you knew your entire life. And I loved Fishkill Elementary.
Did they ring the bell at Fishkill Elementary like they do now for 5th graders?
They did, yeah. On the last day of fifth grade, we got to ring the bell. I do think that this is a weird comment. I don't know if you want to keep it in there, but the fact that you don't have to jump to Wappingers and then go to John Jay, I think they do that now. You just go to Van Wyck and then go to John Jay. Much better.
Yeah.
Because you kind of have to make friends, then they all go to Ketchum, then you go to John Jay. It's not the best.
So you grew up going to Blodgett Library and you did all the story times and summer programs and all the...
And my mom, she got me my library card when I was little, and I think that's the card I still have now because I don't think I ever changed it. And I don't know if she's still here, but there was a children's librarian down in the basement.
Peg Siebert?
Yeah, I remember her.
She just retired last year.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know my youngest daughter still has her library card that she got when she was 5 with her, her printed signature. As soon as you can write, you can get your card.
And now my friends and neighbors who have kids, they come here. It's just like a nice full circle, which is cool.
So when did you decide you wanted to be a librarian?
Around the time I was doing the book, I realized that I love history, and I went to school to Marist to be a history teacher, but I realized that all the jobs I was looking at were librarian jobs, and that seemed to be more, because it kind of, being a librarian, you can kind of do teaching, but also research. It's everything I like in one job. So I decided to go back to school and be a librarian.
I think one of the neat things of being a librarian is you can do so many things with it. It's not just shelf reading. It's, answering questions and creating programs and, finding, I'm looking for a book. The cover was blue, but you're really bad if you play Trivial Pursuit. Because you always want to look up and know more answers.
Yeah, that's true. It's true.
So you got a master's degree in American history and a BA from Marist in history. What part of American history interests you the most and why?
Probably early American history or the Revolutionary War. Based on, growing up here, it's such a big part of Fishkill's history.
Mm-hmm.
I just like, because there's so many different facets to it. There's the war part, there's like the enslaved people part, there's the women's part. There's all different aspects I just love. And Chloe Williamsburg is like my Disney World. So I just love that kind of history.
I majored in history too, but I hated American history because mostly what they taught was the politics, which I really didn't like. I did my thesis in 19th century Ottoman Empire, which really relates to what I do now. I like the stories and the genealogy and the people part, but they do a much better job at my college of teaching history now, and it's much more interesting. I go back and look at the syllabus posted, and it's a lot more interesting than what they taught when I was there. So where did your passion for literature come from?
I keep saying Fishkill Elementary, but yeah, I would say back to that. I had a great teacher, Mrs. PG, in 5th grade, and she knew I liked reading and writing and stuff, and she really like took a interest in me, and she put me in like the reading group and like suggested books I could read, and I don't know if you know the book Owl's Journey.
I was going to ask about that. This is a great book that will get you into local history.
I love that book, and I remember I even wrote to the author and stuff, and like just stuff like I just always loved learning about other people's stories, other people's histories, and just and I guess being a librarian, you can go down a rabbit hole where you're like, I want to know about every single aspect of Fishkill and what's going on, and that ever since I would say probably that point, and maybe like also in middle school, I had read this book, and Rinaldi's books, um, got me into reading. I just love reading historical fiction, and her books just kind of fell in a rabbit hole with that, and ever since I never looked back, and just always loved history from back then, from that point on.
Where did you get the idea to do the book Fishkill Revisited?
A friend of mine, David Turner, wrote the one for Wappingers, and I contacted him, and he told me how he was able to get everything together and the whole process. And I just at the time I was interested in getting a historian job, and wanted to. I've always liked Fishkill history, and I just thought it'd be really interesting to do a sequel of sorts to the one that the Historical Society did. And so I contacted them, and I gave my proposal, and then they accepted it, and then it went from there.
It was published in 2012 where you're getting your master's degree in library science. So how long did it take to create the book?
They only gave me 4 months, so it was, I think, the summer of June, and then I think I had to have it done by September. So it was a lot of like, it's very, very quick process.
Yeah. If you're doing the book now, would you do anything differently?
Yes. Well, the technology is a lot different, which would probably been a lot fast. But I would probably add different stories. I think I focus on 3 different aspects. I think I'd like to add more like women, and different more or less of the known figures, I guess, so to speak. But now that I'm a librarian now, I would probably do it differently just because I know the process better, or the steps that would make it a little bit more I don't know, more robust, I guess.
So what was your process in creating Fishkill Revisited? Who did you work with? How did you actually go about doing it?
Willa Skinner helped me a lot with it, and also the Historical Society. The process was basically I went to the different groups, and I asked them if they had any pictures that I could use, and you had to, back then I had to scan it, and uh, that took a long time. And also like the individual what do you call it, captions for each picture, and they gave you a certain word count, so you kind of have to keep it very brief, which you kind of want to embellish it a little bit.
Yeah.
And then they reviewed it, and then you had to edit it again, and then they were very specific of the types of pictures you could use. So even if some pictures I wanted to use, they weren't the can't remember what they called it, but it was a special like 300 DPI or something they wanted, and if it wasn't a certain type, they rejected it, and the publisher was very specific about what they would accept and what they wouldn't. So that was kind of hard getting enough pictures to fill the whole book. Trinity Church is the church that my family went to, so it was nice being able to go back to the archives and look and see what they had, and kind of go through their photo albums and whatnot. And Mount Goulian too, because Elaine helped me a lot with that as well. That was easier because since I was the intern, I knew what pictures we had, so it was fun. I could just kind of go to what I liked or what I knew could work for the book.
You worked at Mount Goulian for almost 3 years while going to Marist. Any stories you want to tell about your time at Mount Goulian?
Sure. I got that internship at Mount Goulian through Marist because I have the Hudson River Valley Institute, and normally they put you in something based through the school, but I asked them if I could do it through Mount Goulian, and it's one of my favorite jobs still to this day. Elaine there is great, and I was always really interested in I think his name is Goulian Verplank's son, who went to school in Fishkill. I transcribed the letters between the father and son back and forth as well as part of my internship project, and I just thought it was so cool to see like how Fishkill was back in the 1700s and 1800s, and it's still very relatable. Like he's yelling at his son for not being good at school and stuff like that. So it was a good time.
I know one of our collections here that hasn't been processed. There's letters from Mrs. Howell White to her son when he was in medical school at Yale. Well, he wasn't. He was at Yale.
Yeah.
And this is in the 1870s or 80s. And in one letter, she's at the same time saying, "Did you get this the snowball gloves that I sent you. And then she's saying, you have a sore throat, stay inside. And, but if you're not feeling well, your father, who's a doctor, he can come up and see you. And then, she's writing, bits of, local gossip, like, I have some gossip to tell you, Mr. So-and-so and Miss So-and-so got married and they had a rehearsal for their wedding. And then she's, just putting in, little tidbits, like they're, putting in new sidewalks or so-and-so got a new fence. Just all the, little local bits of information because they wrote so many letters about nothing. Right. Or, and we don't have the letters back from the son, but I'm sure he didn't write as many.
I did my thesis, or one of my papers class was early American history, and it was we had to pick a microhistory of something and that you wanted to write about and kind of extrapolate it. So I picked I think it was James Wood or John Wood case in Fishkill, and you had helped me do that paper, and I did research in the library, and that was really fun because it was like also going down a rabbit hole of being like, well, what was Fishkill like? What was his family like? Because he was accused of murdering his father, and he ended up I think he got executed for it, and it was just kind of, no, sorry. He was accused of murdering his son, and then you helped me do the research on the son and then different people in town, and that was a really fun project to do.
Sorry, I don't remember that, but I research a lot of people, but I'm glad I could help you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's a lot of help.
So what was it like traveling to India for part of your graduate studies? That sounds really cool.
Yeah, that was amazing. It was life-changing, actually, because it was, at the time, I was afraid to travel. I was afraid to fly, and I was just like, you know what? Let me just do this. Why not? So I got on a plane, and it was complete strangers and it was a mix of librarians and also people who were into information, like computer people. So we went to Microsoft, and it was southern India, so it was like we didn't do the Taj Mahal and all that stuff, but it was just like so cool to see how different a completely different culture does libraries. It's similar but different, and the focus is slightly different. But it was great to be in a completely different culture, and it was just I loved it. I would definitely recommend going into India.
Does it make you want to travel more?
Yeah, now I travel all the time. Yeah, it's like my thing now. I'm trying to get to all the continents.
So what continents have you been to now?
I've been to Asia, everything but Antarctica and Australia.
Wow. Well, we've had a cow from Antarctica go to Fishkill, so why can't you? There's even a book about it, and it's What to Tell the Grand Cows, and it's about one of J.C. Penney's cows that went to Antarctica in 1931 with Admiral Byrd's expedition. Which is, if the cow can do it, you can do it.
Such a great title.
It's a really cute book.
Mm-hmm.
You're now the interim director of Nyack Library. What's it like being the boss?
That's a good question. Well, luckily, I was assistant director before, and the director that I had, he was very into, like he did the desk schedule, he did circulation. I had done that too, so it's not that different. It's because I still on the desk, I still do reference, I still do circulation sometimes, but it's a lot more responsibility, obviously, and it's fun though. I like it. It's so far it's pretty good. I've been doing it since June, so it's about 3 months now.
So what drives you to work at Nyack and making that hour-long commute every day?
Um, I love the Nyack's, like the people we serve at the library. It's a very artsy, very fun community, and they're just great to work with. And I like the staff that we have. Um, it's just I just like being a librarian. I love research and doing programming and working with the public. It's a good job. I'm glad
It's not the same every day.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Do you like the management role or do you miss the public interaction? That sounds like you're doing some of the public interaction stuff.
Yeah. I do miss like more the creative side, like doing flyers and doing programming and stuff. Luckily, I've been able to do a little bit because I'm doing the director job plus my old job at the same time, so I can still do some of the stuff. But yeah, I do miss doing more like public interaction.
Are you still involved in county plays and Wappingers in all your spare time?
Yeah, I was in ragtime. I was in the Harlem Ensemble, and part of it was we were the band for the Atlantic City scene. I've tried out for a couple of their plays. I haven't gotten one yet again, but I still volunteer and stuff, and I would love to do another play with them. They're great.
Thank you, Tracy. This has been really interesting.
Okay.
And join us next time for another episode of Your Story is Fishkill's Story.